Meteorologist John Weatherby, Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Right now it is overcast and 68 degrees. The market is up today. Dow is up 268 points, now at 18,195. S&P 500 up 27 at 2115, and the NASDAQ Composite Index up 53 at 49.99. Reporting for Money Radio, I'm Ken Morgan.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We're a weekly show found right here on Money Radio, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, and also found on the wide world web at moneyradio1510.com. And today is May 8th, Friday, and like I said, we're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park Money Radio studios, and it is hard to believe that it is May 8th because it is 66 degrees outside in Scottsdale, Arizona. What a wonderful day it is. If you haven't been outside, you need to get outside and just soak it all in, because I think the typical temperature this time of year is probably pushing closer to 90 degrees rather than 70 degrees. So what a wonderful day, and this day is no different than any others. I've got some great guests in the studio here today, but I also wanted just to reflect on some wonderful guests I've had just recently. If you missed our broadcast last week, we had the executive director from Hospice of the Valley, Susan Levine, here in our studio talking about hospice and talking about Hospice of the Valley and what they are doing to help our aging adult population. And for those that are just tuning in for the very, very first time, this is a show about how our aging adult population can live a healthier, happier life. And we bring guests on that really cross the gamut in terms of what they do to accomplish this. And Susan Levine is just one of the many guests that we've had over the last almost year and a half. We're approaching our 18th month here on the air, and this day is no different. I've got a couple guests here in the studio that I want to introduce our listening audience to. One is a return guest. It's my brother. He's in from San Diego, Jonathan Roth. Say hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Bob. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. And the other guest I have is Rob Altshuler from Planning Core Wealth Advisors. Welcome, Rob.
Hi, Bob. Thanks so much.
I'm glad to have you on the show. And, I want to tell our listening audience also, this is a big weekend. This is a weekend where it is Mother's Day. So for those that have forgotten about Mother's Day, you still have some time to get out and buy the chocolates, buy the gifts, buy the cards, and make sure you embrace this day and appreciate your moms. And I will tell you all that for us here in the studio, it is a sentimental day as well, because we do not have our mothers. I know, Rob,
Bob.
You lost yours not too long ago.
Yep, almost 5 years ago.
And both Jonathan and I are pushing 13 years. And I know firsthand it is as sharp as it was from the day it happened. And there's that void that we can never, ever fill.
Yeah, absolutely. On a day-to-day basis, you go through and you do what you have to do with your family. But certain times, and obviously Mother's Day is one of those times where, it reminds you of how important your mom is and how special they are.
And how special they are, and especially for those that have lost their moms. This is an opportunity to really celebrate their lives and their impact that they've had on our lives. I had the opportunity to see this philanthropist who was the founder of Century 21 in Canada. His name's Peter Thomas. He has a home here, but he also lives up in Canada. And I heard Peter speak at the CEO conference that I attended, and the first thing he did when he opened up the conference was God's greatest gift to man was our moms.
Absolutely.
And I got to tell you, that struck me right in the core, and I never really thought of it that way, never looked at it that way. And, I found myself getting a little emotional because there's that special bond. I mean, I love my father, and I would say that you probably do the same.
As well.
But, moms are a little different, and they're a little special.
It's a different relationship.
It is. And, when we've had issues growing up, whatever challenges we've had, whether, skinning a knee or maybe getting a bad grade or running a fever, we weren't running to Dad. We were running to Mom. Yeah,
and with my daughter who's 11, I find myself getting jealous because typically when those things happen, Layla's running to Mom, and I said, hey, I'm here too. And obviously dads fill a special need as well. There's certainly times when Layla needs me, but you're right. For some of those moments, it's go to Mom.
And there are a lot of moms out there right now that could maybe use additional assistance to be able to age successfully in place. And, Rob, Jonathan, and me, we're all in that sandwich generation where we are taking care of our children, but also caring for our dads, or at least overseeing that care. And we can talk about that a little bit later,
sure,
Rob, about yours and ours. But I know, especially as it's Mother's Day, I mean, there are a lot of moms out there that could maybe use some additional help at home, and they may find themselves, being alone, widowed and alone, and certainly not having children, having been empty, being an empty nester. And I just want people out there to be mindful of those women that are out there that are moms. If they need extra help, reach out to them. Give them that assistance. If you think they need some assistance in care, call us at Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. If we're not able to help them, we will direct them into solutions that may assist them so they can age successfully in place. So here we are. It's May 8th. And it is just prior to Mother's Day. And Rob, I've invited you on the show as I've gotten a chance to know you over the last couple months, but you have a certain expertise that I wanted just to tap into for our listening audience. And that is, it's a unique expertise because not only do you have the financial side of your business, and that's the Planning Core Wealth Advisors, but you also are an attorney.
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about what you guys do and how you even got started in this business. You were an attorney and you got into the financial services side.
Sure. So like we talked about, and I've really enjoyed our meetings, Bob, and you've been a great help in trying to advise me on how I can deal with situations in my own personal family, and with my dad who's alone right now. So it's been a great help.
Thank you.
And but yeah, so I, actually, with Mother's Day and in our earlier discussion about moms, when my mom died, it was somewhat of a catalyst for me to form Planning Core Wealth Advisors. It's certainly, I had thought about doing it, and I had been previously in the financial industry with Northwestern Mutual Life, selling life insurance, sort of learned how to sell and how important it is to get people to take action when it comes to purchasing things that, quite honestly, aren't fun. And it's more fun to play golf. I know you played golf today, Bob, and I'm jealous. I didn't get out. I was a little too nervous to play golf this morning, being my first radio show. But yeah, trying to learn that you need to get people to motivate, to make the tough decisions, to get the protection, to do the things that they need to do. And it's a skill. It's a sold product. People don't typically say, I want to go out today and spend money to buy life insurance. You need a guide and a counselor. So I owe Northwestern Mutual for that experience that you can have a great plan, but if you don't execute, you're really not going to go anywhere.
And it's not sexy.
No.
It really isn't. And like you said, it's something that they don't really necessarily need today. But I love your name, Planning Core.
Planning Core.
Because that's exactly what you're doing. You're helping your clients and helping people out there plan for what is inevitable for all of us.
Absolutely.
We're coming up on a break. It's hard to believe, a hard break after one segment. But I will tell you that you said I played golf today. And I had an opportunity to get out with my brother Jonathan, who's in from out of town. And I said it was 66 degrees. It was absolutely spectacular to be out there. What a great place to live in Scottsdale, Arizona. And if you're listening to our show from the World Wide Web, consider coming here. We need more people coming here. So with that, you're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, and we will be right back.
coming back into the market. After a few generally peaceful up years in the market, 2015 has already had a number of sharp up and down moves, and these are likely to continue. If you're prepared for it, volatility is opportunity. If you're not, it can quickly wipe out years of gains in your portfolio. Learn how to get on the professional side of the trade, the right side of the trade, regardless of volatility. Check out Online Trading Academy's The Right Side of the Trade, Thursday at noon on Money Radio 1510.
You know, they say money doesn't grow on trees, but remember, trees produce timber, and timberland as an investment has risen faster and with less volatility than the Standard & Poor's 500 index. In fact, since 1987 alone, in spite of minor losses in 2010 due to the U.S. housing slump, the NCREIF's Timberland Index has risen 15% per year compared to 9.61% for the S&P. During the Great Depression, in fact, stocks plunged 70%, yet timber gained 233%. And even in 2008, when the S&P lost 38%, the Timberland Index gained 9.5%. Nothing, of course, is guaranteed, but trees do grow every year by 4 to 8%, and they are unaffected by wars, politics, interest rates, and market crashes. Want more information on how to acquire timberland? Call my friend Alex Wilson at Maderas Futura at 855-888-6288, or go online at PreciousTimber.com. That's PreciousTimber.com.
ProCopy is changing the way your company buys copiers and printers. ProCopy is offering a 100%, no questions asked, 12-month money-back guarantee. If for any reason during the first year you don't love your Ricoh copier from ProCopy, you simply give it back. No questions asked. Just tell us in writing and we pick it up. Of course, we plan on giving you the great service you've come to expect from ProCopy, including our famous 2.5-hour response time and free after-hour support, so you continue to love us and to remember.
If your fax is jammed or your copies look sloppy, dial 602. Pro Copy.
Kubota, driven by perfectionists. Get some perfection in your world with compact tractors, zero-turn mowers, and diesel utility vehicles from Kubota. Find your local Kubota dealer at Kubota.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. And if you're just tuning in, we're just about ready to start our second segment. I've got my brother Jonathan Roth in from out of town. He's from sunny San Diego, California. And I got Rob Altshuler here in the studio from Planning Core Wealth Advisors. And if you missed our first segment, you can catch it up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. Just click on the radio button at the top or midway down, and you can catch this previous first segment, and you can catch about 70 others that we've been doing since January 2014. When we broke off our first segment, I was talking about how great the weather was, and I had the privilege of being able to play golf with my brother Jonathan this morning, who's just in town for a day and a half. We went to the ball game last night and just saw the D-backs just spank San Diego Padres. And he was telling me how great San Diego was, the outlook is for them this year, and I think they lost 11-0. It was a real whooping. Let's put it that way. So we've got them here in town for the weekend, so let's hope we can keep the momentum going.
Absolutely.
I also talked about, when we were just getting ready to break, how great the weather is here, and I think, a lot of people that live here in Arizona are transplants, and the three of us here in the studio are transplants, and we came here from different places. And our listening audience has heard my story, and I'll just give it to you real briefly. We moved from Baltimore, Maryland originally, and came here to the great West and Arizona, and the weather is just ideal. It's a great place to raise a family, and your story isn't that different, Rob. And I want you to share with our listening audience a little bit about yourself. I want them to really know who you are, and you're an attorney, and your wife's an attorney, and you guys came from the city.
Sure, yeah, Bob. It was, my wife and I met in law school, and when we finished law school, we kind of went the typical path that you do when you're back east. I had a job in New York City. My wife had a position in Connecticut. We were living in Greenwich, Connecticut at the time, and we were finding ourselves, planes, trains, automobiles, commuting every day, and not a great quality of life. And we knew we were going to raise a family, so we hit this sort of epically bad winter that you can get sometimes. My wife called me from the car and had slid off I-95 in Connecticut, all up, says, "Oh my God," and we kind of at that moment said, maybe let's find something different. I had been fortunate enough to live in California for a number of years before I came back home, and sort of said, I didn't think I could get my wife to California, but maybe we could get to Arizona. My in-laws, who I love dearly, I knew this was going to be sort of a shock to their system, moving their daughter out. So we sort of said, let's take a vacation in Arizona. But I decided to call a real estate agent to pick us up at the airport and drive us around and look at houses. So when we got there, my wife said, "Who is this guy holding a sign, looking for us to the airport? Is this a driver?" I said, "No, not exactly. He's a real estate agent." He said, "Well, why do we have a real estate agent?" I said, "Well, let's just go look at some houses. Can't hurt."
Right.
And he's anxious to show us some houses, and we need transportation anyway, so this seems like a good deal, right? Put all the resources together. And actually ended up becoming good friends with him. He did actually sell us our first house. And we planted roots, and then had to make the difficult phone call to family that we had sort of picked up, and that we're going to take the bar exam in Arizona and get started as young, inexperienced lawyers, really not knowing anyone, but feeling good that Arizona is the kind of place where you can come in and make friends really quickly.
How many years ago?
So I'm horrible with dates, and my wife will laugh at me, but it's somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago, probably 17 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've never looked back?
No, never looked back at all. And then, ironically, and I'm sure other people have this story here, family started to follow us out. So eventually we got almost everyone out here as well after them being skeptical about the whole Arizona experiment.
And Rob, when you came out here, did you continue to practice law?
So we came out and we took the bar exam, and then my wife and I we're probably, I shouldn't say this, but about 2 steps away from malpractice in setting up our own little law firm. They don't train you in law school to really learn how to practice law.
Right.
They train you in law school to maybe go work for a law firm and not do a whole lot. You really sort of learn through your first job. But we decided we would try and take on some new clients and go to the law library and figure it out, which looking back scares me. But it was a great experience. We learned how to be entrepreneurs, how to be business owners, and we helped some clients, and that was great. But we both knew that sort of wasn't the direction that we wanted ultimately to go. So,
and working with your spouse is challenging.
Working with your spouse is tough. Matter of fact, when we broke up the firm and we said we're splitting up, everyone was, "Oh my God, but it was you guys are such a great relationship." We said, "No, we're not splitting up the marriage. We're splitting up the law firm," and everyone felt better about that.
Makes for a great family debates between you and Amy. So
absolutely.
2 lawyers arguing, I'm sure, it's hard to say whoever wins.
Trying to get a word in edgewise sometimes can be tough.
So when you did take the firm apart, what did you end up doing?
So we talked about that's when I went to Northwestern Mutual and decided that I wanted to kind of go more in the financial direction, which I had been doing previously.
What a great company,
when I was back in the East Coast. A great company. But I knew that I wanted to do more than the insurance piece, and I really liked the investment side. Was fortunate when I was at Northwestern Mutual to be selected by the Frank Russell Company to sort of be one of their pilot test people to use their mutual fund offerings, and kind of learned the investment side of the business. And from there decided that, again, got the entrepreneurial bug that I could kind of set up my own investment firm, and did that for a little while, but just timing wasn't right and kind of didn't have it the way I wanted to, and went back to practicing law for a number of years up until the point, when my mom died, which again was the catalyst to form Planning Core Wealth Advisors. And
Planning Core Wealth Advisors is a new entity.
Right. We started in January. Both my partner and I have, collectively over 35 years of experience. My partner was a portfolio manager in Europe, incredibly smart with markets, and had seen that side of the industry from the fund side, not from the retail client side, and sort of built a philosophy of how he thought he could better serve clients if he ever went into that side of the business. And by happenstance, we met in a mutual networking event over the holidays, and within a month or so decided that we wanted to build this firm and take some of the clients that he was already servicing mine and put it together in a new registered investment advisory firm.
You know, it's interesting. I think part of the reason why I was attracted to you and connected so well with you is the fact that, you know, your experience with your mom really propelled you into doing this and creating Planning Core. And both Jonathan and mine and my dad's and my brother Joe's experience with our mom really propelled us to getting into the business that we're in.
Yeah, I knew we had that common bond.
We do. And it really, you know, for me, it doesn't feel like work and never has, because we're helping people. You're helping people. We're helping people. Well, it's different type of helps. We're assisting people to age successfully in place. You're assisting people with planning.
Absolutely.
And being able to sit down with somebody and help them understand how important planning is, and as we said in the last segment, it's not sexy. The products that you're selling and the services that we sell, you know, it's hard to get to somebody to come to a workshop on a Saturday or Sunday when the weather is just so beautiful out here, to learn more about, you know, aging in place and you know, caregiving resources. And for you, the same in terms of planning and talking about wills and trusts and everything that goes along with that.
Yeah, it's easy. You know, the conversation about investments usually is an easy conversation because everyone thinks they know the market. They enjoy talking about the market. You know, they turn on CNBC and see today that the Dow is up big, and it's a cocktail party conversation. And so we don't have much trouble engaging our clients on the investment side. I mean, our goal there is to really try and eliminate some of the white noise that exists in the industry and try and, you know, explain some of the fee structure issues that happen. You know, one of the analogies that I give that why we're different is, you know, if you had a doctor that you trust, and most of us have a trust relationship with a physician, a close physician, and if you were to go have surgery, and right before the anesthesiologist comes in and your doctor's wearing scrubs that have patches like NASCAR from the different pharmaceutical companies and product vendors, you might take a pause and wonder if he was going to do a procedure or recommend something based on the patches that he's got on his scrubs. We face that same situation in trying to help clients understand how fees are structured in our business.
And, you know, you and I talked about it before we even started our show. We talked about the word transparency. And if you wouldn't mind, just share a little bit about something that you just heard at a recent workshop.
Yeah, I was at a conference the other day with one of the custodians who hold our clients' funds, and they had done a survey of clients to find out, you know, when they hear the word transparent pricing, what does that mean? And they came back and said, that means hidden. It means hard to find. And we all, aghast, the jaws hit the floor, and we said, so really what we're telling our clients is we have hidden fees.
Well, I think enough of, you know, our listening audience can relate to this. Enough people have heard, especially the politicians, talk about transparency.
It's a throwaway word.
It's a throwaway word because we know they're not being transparent.
Right.
So that, you know, actually it's the opposite, and people realize or they think that transparency is actually opaque, and it's not transparent. Correct. Afterwards, right?
It was eye-opening.
It is eye-opening. Well, we're coming up on another break here. And listen to a little bit of Bruce Springsteen, and we're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I've got Jonathan Roth in the studio, and I got Rob Altshuler in the studio. We will be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
If you're heading to a military base today, add more time to your schedule. All identification and all vehicles will be checked because the threat level has been raised and security is tighter. Well, a small plane crashed on I-285 in Atlanta this morning. NTSB spokesman Eric Aline says 4 people on board were killed.
We'll be documenting the scene and collecting evidence. After that, the aircraft will be moved to another site in Griffin, where we will further the investigation.
At the city's request, Attorney General Loretta Lynch says the Justice Department will investigate Baltimore's police practices.
The challenges that we face and that Baltimore faces now did not arise in a day, and change will not come overnight. It will take time and sustained effort.
Tornado watches in parts of New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma this afternoon. The world is marking VE Day. 70 years ago, the Allies defeated Nazi Germany. The Dow is 262 points higher right now. I'm Evan Haining.
Hey, it's Elena, and do you freak out every time you break out? Well, I've got one word for you: proactive. There's a huge reason Proactive is the #1 acne treatment in the country. It totally works. Prescription-grade Proactive heals your acne, even prevents future breakouts. How great is that? And there's a reason why so many celebrities use Proactive. Their faces are their money. And I'm telling you, it's time to get it, because Proactive has set up a special dedicated 800 number for our listeners. So get ready to punch that number into your phone. Pull over if you have to. Here's the deal. $19.95, you get Proactive, plus a rotating deep cleansing brush. It's valued at $45. That's yours for free. So is the shipping. For only $19.95, you, my friends, are guaranteed to get clear and stay clear, or you'll get your money back. Here's the number: 1-800-543-3313. Call for a lifetime of beautiful skin. Tell them Elena sent you. Call 1-800-543-3313.
This is Money Radio, where we mean business, and we talk about it every day to keep you up to date, because it could affect your bottom line.
With technology, opportunity, and happiness, every Tuesday at noon, host John Barnabas builds on the success of the short segment Executive Technology Bites, Mondays on Business for Breakfast. Technology, Opportunity, and Happiness features more detailed discussion on the Money Radio technology model portfolio of promising technology-oriented stocks, and has interviews with key personalities within the companies. Join John Barnabas every Tuesday at noon for Technology, Opportunity, and Happiness on Money Radio 1510.
Hi, Bam Ransom here, along with Johnny Dean and Rick the Professor Plum. We know how important financial planning and wealth education can be, so we're focusing the show on the investment strategy designed for the needs you have today and the goals you have for the future. Join us for Bucket Strategy Investing. Bucket Strategy Investing. Answering questions about your most important financial challenges, your 401ks, IRAs, Social Security, and more. Join us every day for Bucket Strategy Investing.
Laura Bramnick is a real estate agent and a real estate attorney and a consumer advocate. If you have distressed property, a possible short sale or foreclosure, you need more than a real estate agent. You need a good attorney. You're not alone. Laura can help. For more information, visit talkrealestateaz.com or call 480-624-2705. That's 480-624-2705. To talk with Laura, call 480-624-2705.
ProCopy is changing the way your company buys copiers and printers. ProCopy is offering a 100%, no questions asked, 12-month money-back guarantee. If for any reason during the first year you don't love your Ricoh copier from ProCopy, you simply give it back. No questions asked. Just tell us in writing and we pick it up. Of course, we plan on giving you the great service you've come to expect from ProCopy, including our famous 2.5-hour response time and free after-hour support, so you continue to love us and to remember.
If your fax is jammed or your copies look sloppy, dial 602. Pro Copy.
Kubota, driven by perfectionists. Get some perfection in your world with compact tractors, zero-turn mowers, and diesel utility vehicles from Kubota. Find your local Kubota dealer at Kubota.com.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. President Obama paid a visit to Nike's headquarters in Oregon today to make his case for a pending international trade agreement. Mr. Obama said the U.S. must write the rules for global commerce now while it is in a position of economic strength, or China will. Nike said the trade deal would allow it to take advantage of lower tariffs on shoes and speed up investments in manufacturing in the U.S., which would create up to 10,000 jobs over the next decade. McDonald's shares are up more than 1% today. The fast food chain said its April sales were down 0.6%, which was less than expected and the company's best sales performance so far this year. A solid employment report for April has given the broader market a nice boost. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 265 points. The Nasdaq Composite is ahead 55, and the S&P 500 is up 26 points. That's Your Money Now.
By 2025, it's estimated that half the world's population will lack access to safe drinking water. A sorry state of affairs, as 2/3 of our planet is covered by water. We are helping develop solutions for salt water to satisfy the thirst of future generations. BASF. We create chemistry.
T-Mobile is changing the way business does wireless. Uncarrier customer Andrew Brady from King Courier in San Francisco explains how.
Every other provider out there seems to be more all about the gotcha. T-Mobile's more about the people. They take care of me. And I'm a tough customer, let me tell you.
Switch your business to the Uncarrier. Find a T-Mobile store today at T-Mobile.com/business.
Customer participation was compensated.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're going to get right back into the segment. We're in the third segment, and I've got Rob Altshuler here in the studio. He's from Planning Core Wealth Advisors, and I've got my brother Jonathan from San Diego in visiting. And we've got so much to cover. I just want to jump right back in. You were talking about transparency before, and one of the things that we talked about at the break was Jonathan asked the question. You're welcome to ask it right now. Is how do we?
Well, just asking about Scott's business and understanding. I live in California, obviously, but when I look at my portfolio, and you mentioned Northwestern Mutual, and I'm a big fan of Northwestern Mutual. I have policies for all my kids with Northwestern Mutual as well as myself. And obviously I have an agent that I deal with, but how would I go about engaging someone like your firm and what you do, and how is that different than just having Northwestern policies or the advisor for Northwestern?
Sure. Typically it's usually a referral. I mean, we typically work on a referral basis, so it's usually a client or someone that's a center of influence, a CPA, another attorney who we network with, who understands our capabilities, will make a referral to us. But usually that individual has gone through what we call usually a life event. So it might be a large inheritance. It might be a divorce. Something to where they're going to receive a significant amount of money and they're not comfortable managing that themselves. So they're looking for a wealth management firm, all different kind of names out there, wealth management firm, planning firms, to take control to sort of manage those investments for them, but also look at the bigger planning picture and integrate. So, deal with their Northwestern Mutual agent on some of the insurance issues and maybe, make sure that that's being addressed in the context of the recent inheritance that they've got. All the pieces need to fit together. So someone that, has adequate insurance might dictate things that we do differently from a risk profile with the portfolio. Whereas someone that we look at and we don't feel they have adequate insurance in place, we might be a little bit more conservative in what we do with their investments. So it's hard to take pieces of someone's financial life and just address them separately. We feel it's more efficient to look at the entire relationship. So I hate to use the sports analogy, but we're kind of the quarterback. I mean, that's and then we get paid through the assets under management is typically, but it's not fixed on that. So we have our fees start at 25 basis points, 0.25% up to 1%, and we take each situation individually. So it's based on the assets that we're going to be expected to be to manage, and then we'll take a look at all the other planning issues that the clients want. I mean, it's not a cookie-cutter solution. Some clients come in and they say, we know you have an expertise in building globally diversified portfolios. And that's, my partner and all the time that he spent in Europe, working in those markets. And that's what they want, and we price our services accordingly. They might have another person who's done planning, and they feel comfortable with that. Someone else might come in and say, we had an example recently, a recent divorcee who had a lot of money that was coming, and her husband had been doing everything for her. He had a firm that she was with, but she didn't want to stay with her husband's firm, and so she's going to need much more high-touch service and planning, because we're really going to have to fill a lot of need in terms of education, than the other client that I mentioned that's maybe more sophisticated and just wants to leverage us for the investment management.
It's a great example on the divorce.
It is.
Yeah.
And certainly here in Scottsdale, we have a lot of people that get
Unfortunately,
divorced.
yeah. It's
So that is a life-changing event, and you need to really have a plan. And, one of the things that you said at the break is that, and it's something that we say at Cypress too, is that, we're not just, selling our home care services. We're about solutions. And you said, I don't sell, and our firm doesn't sell product. We sell solutions.
That's correct.
Because every single client, their needs are different. So you can't take a square peg and just try to force it down a round hole. You do a complete needs analysis. You really understand their situation. And like you said, they're going through a life-changing event, and you need to put that plan in place.
Yeah, and they all have different personalities and risk tolerance and the family structure. Are we dealing with multi-generational wealth? Do they want us to help advise their children to be responsible stewards of wealth? For some, that's really important, and for others, it isn't. So, we've tried to create, again, I hate to use the buzzwords, but an open architecture so that we can literally scour the universe of the best investment solutions, insurance solutions, long-term care, and then create a plan based on that.
The interesting thing, and we talked about it in one of the previous segments, is that, your firsthand experience with your mom, our firsthand experience with our mom, being Mother's Day, we can talk about our moms. We should be talking about them every day. But
absolutely.
But certainly, we're elevated to talk about it even more so now. That really helped you decide where your career path was going to go, because you had this firsthand experience as an advisor, or as a son, if you would, with things like hospice. You also had experience with being the administrative piece when someone passes away, and you knew a lot of this stuff because you studied it in law.
Correct.
But you never experienced it from having to deal with it yourself.
It changed everything. Again, it wasn't the catalyst. I knew I wanted to be setting up this firm, but what it changed when my mom passed away was focusing on the details of situations where, again, being an advisor and someone that should have been easily able to contact the various mutual fund companies and help to get funds titled in my dad's trust and do all the paperwork and the administration, it was extremely difficult. And I just, at certain points, I said, I don't understand how people do this. I have all the advantages. I understand how to do it. I'm an advisor. This is how I advise clients. But when you're doing it and it's emotional and it's your own family, it's incredibly difficult. So I knew that the way I wanted to structure Planning Core Wealth Advisors, we wanted to make sure that we were so integrated and our clients had a level of trust with us that, God forbid, that situation happened, that we would be there. We would help make sure that all of those assets were transferred efficiently and let them go through the grieving process, but know that they had somebody there, a trusted advisor that could help with all the other issues.
For our listening audience, if you need or would like to talk to Rob Altshuler from Planning Core Wealth Advisors, you can reach him at 480-296-0280. And I want you to know I'm up on their website, and this is a very user-friendly website. You can go to planningcore.com. And you can learn a lot more about Rob, his firm, and the services that they offer.
Yeah, that's great. We love to educate clients, and sometimes people come in, they're not eventually going to be a client, but that's fine. Maybe they'll be an ambassador for our firm in some other way, but we do really love the education piece.
And you don't find very many people that are doing the type of work you're doing, but also have the legal background. And that really is a differentiator. Even though I think you said to me, I'm not practicing law, but I know enough about law that I'm going to give them good advice, but still tell them to go seek a professional.
Always seek a professional.
Well, with that, we're up on another hard break. We're having fun here in the Scottsdale Air Park. It's 66 degrees here in Scottsdale, and we're coming at you live from the Money Radio Studios, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM. We're up on a break. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. We'll be right back.
Insure your income, insure your outcomes, and invest the rest with purpose. Learn how to secure your income and grow your wealth with lower risk and less cost. Attend the Mastering Money Financial Seminar on Money Radio. When is it? Well, it's on when you're ready to listen. Every day at 5 or 6 or 7 p.m., you can hear the A-Team, Wealth Manager Steve Jurich and Sinclair No on Mastering Money. Simply download the Mastering Money app for your iPhone or Android. You can also hear the podcast anytime at masteringmoneyradio.com. See you there.
Here at Phil's Gang, we understand the ghosts of 2008 and 2009 hang over all investors. In a recent banking analyst report, studies show the reason people are not investing in the stock market is a greater need for financial education. At Phil's Gang, we are your #1 provider of financial investing education techniques. For over a decade, Phil Grandy has been coaching, guiding, and helping people build a successful trading plan for any time frame, from current income to retirement security.
I think what you're doing is extremely important. People don't realize this, but financial education is in many respects the most important education you can get, and that's what they're getting from your show.
Build your investment confidence with Phil's Gang today with daily webinars, alerts, and educational videos. And all material is archived for your convenience. Put the investment ghosts in the past and start investing with Phil Grandy and Phil's Gang today. For more information, simply go to philsgang.com, philsgang.com. Or call 877-600-GANG. That's 877-600-4264.
It's an extremely valuable resource. It's found in offices, buildings, and schools. It's a resource that speaks volume, yet it never makes a sound. Everyone recognizes it. Everyone uses it. Interestingly enough, it's rarely discussed. Croy Sign Systems, designers and manufacturers of architectural and ADA signs since 1981. Let Croy be your resource for identification, direction, and information. Give Croy Signs a call at 480-619-6070 or online at kroysigns.com.
Kubota, driven by perfectionists. Get some perfection in your world with compact tractors, zero-turn mowers, and diesel utility vehicles from Kubota. Find your local Kubota dealer at kubota.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're on our fourth segment here. I got Rob Altshuler here in the studio from Planning Core Wealth Advisors. I got my brother Jonathan in from San Diego, and we're talking Mother's Day, and we're talking Planning Core, and we're talking about Cypress Home Care Solutions and caregiving solutions. And, you know, one of the things that we've talked about right here on the show is we've talked a lot about Alzheimer's and dementia. And, you know, Alzheimer's and dementia is something that we really need to put a lot of energy and focus in on. We know that NIH, the National Health Institute's put a lot of energy and focus in on it. They have really assisted the Banner Alzheimer's Institute with some grant money over the last couple years to really find a cure or find a way to end this horrible disease. And for those that aren't aware, right now we have approximately 5.4 million Americans that are afflicted with this disease, costing our economy over $214 billion a year.
It's a big number.
It is a big number, and they're talking about by 2050, that number to be 16 million Americans who are afflicted with this disease, costing our economy over $1.2 trillion a year.
Incredible.
It is incredible, and it is, as I've had here on our show, Dr. Pierre Theriault from the Banner Alzheimer's Institute. It is going to be pandemic, and we need to put a lot of time and energy into it. And this is a great opportunity for me to share with our listening audience that, you know, at Cypress Home Care Solutions, where we have been providing solutions to our community for over 21 years, we've always been focused in on providing exceptional care, and we've always had dementia training for our caregivers. But we have made an investment to even go one step further. We've hired a dementia specialist. We're engaging dementia products and services so that we can help families that are afflicted with this disease, whether they're getting services from Cypress or not, to be able to maintain them in their comfort of their own home. You know, I had a situation really recently with a clergy person where I went in to go visit one of his family members, and you know, the family member just did not think he needed help. And this family member had lost a lot of weight, and this family member has been missing his medications. And I went in and I said the following to him. I just said, look, I want to help, but you've got to take the first step and accept help. And this person, by the way, was incredibly lucid. I mean, they are in the early stages, but didn't loop at all. Incredibly lucid in what's going on. And I said, look, I want to help, but we need to do all three of the following. One is we need to get you to eat your meals. And when you have Alzheimer's and dementia, one of the things that happens is the trigger between the brain and the stomach gets somewhat disconnected. So they think they are eating, but they're not necessarily eating. 2, this one individual was missing the medications, and there's some great Alzheimer's medications that aren't there for cures, but they're there to help prolong the inevitable and delay the onset. And this individual had missed 4 out of the last 8 days. And they knew this because they had the Philips dispenser that is connected to Wi-Fi, and it dispenses it automatically. And if it misses, you know when you've missed. And then the last piece is socialization. So those are 3 really important factors to help somebody fight off the onset, delay the onset, because we don't have a cure yet. But as I said to this individual, I said, you know what? I said, you can either decide to do this now. If not, if I come back in about 2 months, 3 months, I promise you, if you don't, it's going to be too late, because this disease will just take over. And I just share this with you because we at Cypress are making a significant investment in helping these families out. And if you're listening to the show here today and you've got a family member or a friend or neighbor or somebody that you think might need some assistance, home care assistance, but may need some assistance because you're sensing they have early signs of Alzheimer's or dementia, or they've been recently diagnosed, give us a call at Cypress Home Care Solutions at 264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. And like Rob and your firm, we are called Cypress Home Care Solutions because we're solutions oriented. We may not be that right solution, but we'll guide you into that solution. And like you and your firm at Planning Core, you're not about selling just products. You're selling about solutions.
Well, and I've been fortunate to experience that firsthand, Bob, in our conversations, because you've been incredible at providing me with education and advice with some of my own family situations that touch on these issues. And I feel like I'm a better advisor now to be able to look out for my clients that might have parents in this situation, or possibly even the client themselves, whereas I admittedly didn't have a really good knowledge base, and I don't think many of my peers do as well, in a lot of these areas, because they're not, again, the sexy investment things to talk about, but I think it does provide a vital role, and I really appreciate and cherish our newfound relationship.
Thank you.
To learn about these important topics.
And, it's Mother's Day this weekend, and, certainly I want everyone to be mindful of their moms and celebrate with them, but also take inventory. It really is hard to believe how quickly aging, and whether it be dementia or other aging challenges, can happen to a loved one. So family members may be coming in for the weekend to celebrate Mother's Day, and maybe have not seen them in a while, or they may even live here and may not have seen them in a while. And hopefully they're coming together to have Sunday brunch, Sunday dinner, or just even a Sunday visit. But take inventory, especially for those people that are home alone. And being home alone, and I've repeated this often and shared this with our listening audience, Dr. Ed Perrin, who is a very well-known gerontologist here in town, made the analogy that babies get touched over 100 times a day, and we have so many aging adults that are out there that don't get touched at all during the week. And I talk about dementia and Alzheimer's, and the statistics are overwhelming, where women have higher propensity and incidences of getting this disease versus men. So, I want our audience just to be mindful of that. Just, take stock, take inventory of your loved ones, and make sure that, one, you're communicating with them and you're loving them like you should, but also see where they're at and see if they do need some help. Yeah. And, be mindful of looking for signs, and they can be signs of, bumps and bruises, can be signs on personal hygiene, can be signs of repeating themselves, confused, dazed. Look for the signs. And Alzheimer's Association is a great resource here locally, as well as the Banner Alzheimer's Institute. And if you find yourself as one of those loved ones that have someone that has been diagnosed, the support groups that both those organizations have are phenomenal. Well, I know we're coming up on the end of the show, and Rob, I want to just give a shout out to you and just say, look, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Bob.
I think you've created something that is unique in the sense that you have a great partnership with your partner, and both of you bring two different approaches to the business, but they're one and the same in the planning core and the creation of your entity.
We certainly, yes. We have the different skill sets, but we share a commonality in how we want to treat our clients and the types of services and solutions we want to provide.
And for those that want to be able to reach out to Rob, you can reach him at 480-296-0280 or go to planningcore.com. I also want to just share with our listening audience, there's a great need for caregivers. And, we're always looking for people that have heart and compassion and looking for someone who wants to make a difference in somebody's life. And I will tell you, there is no more noble profession than somebody helping and assisting somebody to age successfully in place. I've had a number of guests here on the show, one in particular, Jeff Brown. If you didn't hear that episode, you can go to our website, up on that radio button, and listen to this. This is a guy that was a professional. He was a coach. And he has shared with us how rewarding this experience is in helping a fellow brother or sister out in aging. And it is incredibly needed. And we at Cypress Home Care Solutions, as well as many other employer-based home care agencies, are looking for those people that have the heart, the compassion, and the desire to make a difference in somebody's life. Jonathan, would you like to add anything?
Well, I'll say, since it's Mother's Day Sunday, make sure you do something special for your mother. If you still have your mother, you never know. When my mother passed, I was something I'll never forget. I went to get some flowers for my wife last minute, like I usually do on Mother's Day, and the woman checking me out said, "Oh, you getting that for your mother?" And I said, "No, I don't have a mother. Make sure you kiss yours."
We're going to have to say so long. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. Make it a great day and have a great weekend.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Napa know-how.
Few things in life are as annoying as bad wiper blades. Good thing Napa's got 20% off AccuFit wiper blades. That's 20% off, plus a $5 rebate by mail when you buy a pair. New blades means a lot less. Conquer the job with Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer expires 5/31/15.
Money Radio 1510
and 99.3 FM.
Is KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257 CD Phoenix. It's not all about making money. It's also about spending your money wisely. When we find great tips, we pass them along to you. Dow is up now 269 points. The NASDAQ Composite is up 57, and the S&P 500 is up 28 points.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news.